Hi friends, and welcome back to another episode of Still Figuring It Out, where we explore growth hacks and self-improvement tips to live healthier, happier lives. If you're new here, I'm Martin, and today we're going to talk about email. Yes, email. Specifically around creating optimal email framework and a daily routine to stay on top of your inbox and even achieve the coveted inbox zero. So email has become an essential tool of communication in both personal and professional settings. However, a cluttered, overflowing inbox can quickly become overwhelming, leading to lost productivity and missed opportunities. Are you experiencing this problem? If you are, we're going to cover some ways to overcome that today. So I've tried tons of different frameworks out there, and I want to share with you today the two best frameworks that work for me. And I say two because I use a different framework for my work email as I do for my personal email. So before diving into the two frameworks, let's cover some pretty quick and easy steps that you can take that will work with any framework to get you closer to inbox zero and a clean and clutter-free inbox. So the first and most obvious one, unsubscribe from unwanted emails. A good rule is anything you don't recognize, anything you don't need, and anything that you haven't opened in the last 2 months. And we all know what those emails are, those newsletters that we get each month, and we say, oh, maybe next week I will look into that. If you haven't looked into it in 2 or more months, you're never going to, so just get rid of it. 2, train your junk or spam folder. So if you're seeing emails that you can't unsubscribe from, or just general junk emails, you can train your junk inbox to look out for emails from the same sender or emails that kind of fit the same condition by sending it to the junk mail. So don't forget to do that. If you're going to plan to delete it, then you can still delete it after it's in the junk folder, but you want to send it there so the system starts to learn what to look out for. Use labels and folders to categorize your emails. It seems a bit obvious, but we're going to take it one step further. The trick is to make them actionable versus passive. So for example, follow up instead of reminder. What that does is triggers the brain to remember that it has to achieve a certain action versus just putting it into a storage to come back to later. Use rules to filter and manage your inbox, particularly for repetitive tasks. So for things like notifications or receipts, you can create folders and automatically send them there so you don't have to keep dragging them manually each day. Finally, the importance of using archive and delete. After reading an email, it should follow into an action, which we'll kind of cover a little bit later. And after that, it should be archived or deleted. Deleted means I never want to see it again. Archive means I want to save it for later as a reference. You can archive it in 2 ways. You can just hit that archive button, which will kind of go into a mass archive folder. Or when we go through the framework, you'll be able to kind of store it under one of those folders that we create. So now let's dive into the two frameworks, and let's start with the easiest. Actually, that's work. So with work, it's really just 3 simple folders: follow up, awaiting response, and read through. Follow up means that I need to take an action. So I want to put that an email in there that I need to take an action, either it's end of day or end of week, and I'll put that in there just to kind of keep me honest, and I'll be able to check that folder easily so that I know what actions I have to take. Awaiting response, that means somebody else has to take an action, and so I'll just put an email in there, either a sent email or received email, just to remind me that I'm still waiting on a task, or to remind me that I need to follow up with them in a couple of days if I haven't heard anything back. And then the last and final one is read through. And this just means I want to keep it as a reference for later. I either want to refer back to this email because of a study or a statement or whatever it is that you want quick and easy access to that. You want to put that in the read through folder. Everything else should be archived or deleted. So that kind of gets us to the next step. Once you receive an email, it should really take one of 5 different actions. Archive or delete, which is the ending action after you've kind of done one of these other following tasks. I either need to reply because they're requesting something from me. It could be a meeting, so I need to schedule something in a calendar or schedule a reminder. Create a task, so that way I either need to add a to-do list or whatever that item is. And then after that, we do the archive or the delete. And again, the archive can take two forms. It can either go into the read-through folder for reference later, or you can just hit that archive button to make it easily searchable for kind of a later time. And if you're never going to need to refer back to it again, you can delete it. So now let's dive into personal. My personal is a little bit more complicated because there are many, many more topics to cover. I want to keep things for different reasons. Items are at different stages of planning and reference, so I didn't find that the 3-folder framework worked really well for the personal. I take a 6-folder approach with a couple of subfolders, and I absolutely forbid myself from doing any subfolders because otherwise it does start to get a little hectic to manage. So these are the 6 folders I use. Notifications, where all my order and delivery notifications go. I like this because I like to keep track of my packages and items. So that's kind of where I send all my notifications. I create a folder called This Week. That means it's something urgent that needs to be done this week, whether that's an action or awaiting a response. It needs to be tackled this week, so I put it in there. Then I kind of created a this month folder. So that way it's still relatively important. It's something I need to worry about. Again, it could be an action or awaiting a response, but the timeline isn't as urgent. And so I kind of just put it in there to kind of keep track of. Then I have a receipts folder. In receipts, this is where I put all my order receipts, but it's also where I put all my gift cards. So if I have any upcoming gifts, gift cards that I've purchased or rewards given to me by a brand, I'll stash them in the receipts folder as well, just for kind of quick and easy access. Then I create a reading folder. And for me, I fit 3 different kind of reading categories. So I have my major reading folder, which is really all of the items I want to read kind of on a daily or weekly basis. So this will tend to be like my news, like the Skim, or the Daily Brew, or any of those items that I find useful for me to improve kind of my general knowledge or something that is specific or related to my job. Then I have 2 subfolders. I have blog and events. Now, blog is maybe some less important reading that I also find valuable, but just can't get to every day or even every week. And so sometimes I'll use that to browse over the weekend. So that might be like general newsletters from kind of creatives or people I follow outside of my profession. Could be something around working out. I follow a couple of workout people, so they'll share kind of general tips and rules. So I'll kind of put all of that items in the blog folder. And then the last one is events. I like to stay on top of the events that are happening in my city. So, kind of upcoming concerts, networking events, conventions, anything like that, I'll put in there and I'll kind of browse once a week or once every other week and just see what's coming to the city. And that way I can quickly know if I want to go, but I don't have to have it clutter my inbox. The last folder that I'll do is FYI or storage, and this is kind of my catch-all folder. This is where I put subfolders in there of different actions, so things like upcoming trips or past trips, or just anything I really want to be able to store and reference easily without having to search through the archive. I put it in FYI or storage into its kind of own dedicated subfolder. But I do try and make sure I don't have hundreds of those, but that's a quick and easy label that you can kind of minimize so that way you don't see all of the kind of abundance of folders and keep your inbox still kind of clean and nice. So now that you have an established system in place, it's time to clear out the old mess. So you gotta create your folders, you gotta run through and unsubscribe, and you gotta set up your new routine so that way it prevents the inbox of still growing, but also cleans out, all of the past work. Now, you may want to organize it all right away. And if you're anything like me, when I first started this process, you probably have thousands of unread and unorganized emails. And it's very daunting and overwhelming to try and tackle all of that all at once. So what you really want to do is just, for the next couple of weeks, set 30 minutes aside, either in the morning or the evening, to go through those emails so it just doesn't feel so overwhelming for you to kind of tackle and try and sit down for 4 or 8 hours and try and do it all at once. So for me, I put aside 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, And I kind of spent that over the next 2 weeks really honing my email routine and cleaning out the past inbox. So a couple of other small tips. If you kind of wanted to get to that expert level, learning shortcuts is super helpful. It allows you kind of explore, email a lot faster and get through your kind of to-do list. The other is using an email aggregator. So things like Outlook or Mac Mail. If you're managing multiple personal or multiple work emails, you may want to make sure that you have a tool so you don't have to have lots of different tabs. Everything's kind of all in one place, and you can kind of manage that across devices as well. So achieving inbox zero may seem like an impossible feat, but implementing these tips and making email a priority, you can kind of reduce the clutter, you can improve your productivity and achieve a more organized and efficient inbox and work your way to that inbox zero. I know it's not for everybody, but there are a lot of proven benefits around inbox zero, what it does for your organization and kind of just general mental, stability and health during work to kind of reduce that anxiety. It also cuts down on wasted time, so you're not rereading emails and kind of trying to look and find something that you need to reference, and so you don't have to spend a lot of time doing that. Remember though, the key is to stay disciplined, spending a little bit of time each day once you've cleared that inbox zero, really maintaining a healthy email routine and spending 15-20 minutes every day managing that inbox and kind of keeping it there. So let me know how this works for you. Let me know which routines worked for you, which ones didn't, and would love to hear what you've changed and what email routine you have, so that way we can share it with the rest of the community. If you enjoyed this video, please like so you don't miss a friggin' thing, and I'll see you at our next video. Thank you so much.